There is no doubt the country cannot allow 2,000 people suddenly to be boom. That's why we asked the liquidators not to do it at that time.
The Prime Minister has another breakthrough on the Baha Mar debacle. We've got the very latest development.
The government is working around the clock on this project.
The Attorney General weighs in on the Baha Mar ordeal. We'll give you all the details coming up in the Bahamas Tonight.
Appear in the Magistrates court as defendants. We'll tell you the charges coming up in the Bahamas Tonight.
Now in HD. ZNS Network presents The Bahamas Tonight. This portion of the news brought to you by BTC Everyday.
Major discussions taking place overnight with government and the People's Republic of China said to have gained significant ground. This as one of the hotel brands at Baha Mar announces plans to increase its investment. Good evening, everyone. I'm Charisma Robinson.
And I'm Chris Saunders. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, coming off of a weekend of seeing more than 2,000 layoffs, finally some good news with the Baha Mar issue. This as Prime Minister Christie reports progress in negotiations and talks overnight. It also comes as the SLS luxury brand places an idea on the table that could translate into good news for the struggling Bahamian Riviera. Clint Watson joins us live in studio tonight. Having spoken to the government and SLS executives, we've got some good news on the horizon in this ZNS News exclusive, right, Clint?
That's very correct, Chris. Well, Prime Minister Honorable Perry Christie says he's committed to bringing a resolution to the Baha Mar issue.
The kinds of discussions that my people are having with the parties would require me not to say anything at this stage. We are really we've always wanted all of the parties to sit together, arrive at an amicable sort of conclusion to the talks, that everybody becomes then winners. If that doesn't happen, then we want the next best thing. We want whoever can in fact move forward and finish the property. We want them to do that because we want the property opened, we want the property marketed, we want Bahamians employed. And so we happen to know more than I'm now talking.
These developments have caused the Prime Minister to reiterate his optimism for a positive outcome and looks forward to good news coming in the not-too-distant future. The good news wasn't far away as executives from the luxury SLS group announced they're not going anywhere. SLS is positioned to brand and operate one of the hotels at the Baha Mar Riviera. Chairman of the group, San Nazarian, says he's very pleased with the design of the property, calling it unbelievably well, and says their position is this.
Not only are we excited about it, but I think more importantly, we'd like to do more within the campus of Baha Mar.
And that more couldn't have come at a better time, according to the nation's leader. With Rosewood pulling out, that luxury property now needs a brand, and SLS appears to be up to the grabbing.
We would love to explore that option, yes. We think that the Rosewood property also was built at an unbelievable level of quality, and its positioning within the campus is unbelievably well with the other brands of Hyatt and the casino hotel itself. So, like I said, we'd love to do more, and whatever the final stakeholders will have us do, we'll do it willingly and with a lot of confidence moving forward.
They are in the process of negotiating an interest in another hotel chain, Morgan's, and that the Mondrian and others in it. And when they speak of another property and even looking at Rosewood, and Rosewood was sort of slated to be a 5-6 star hotel in that mix, that they have, I think they would be able to reach that standard based on what they are planning.
Now talks continue, and according to Prime Minister Christie, they won't stop until a resolution is reached, whether agreeably or not. He is also pushing to have construction mobilized before the end of the year. And speaking of construction, Chris and Charisma, we also learned from the Prime Minister that the $300 million reportedly needed to complete Baha Mar has now actually doubled as a result of the deterioration of the property as it just sits idly by. Live in the studio, I'm Clint Watson. Back to you guys.
Thanks so much, Clint. Still on Baha Mar news, the Attorney General reiterating the words of the Prime Minister that government remains committed to ensuring the opening of the Baha Mar project. She, however, warned people not to play politics with this matter. Janine Ferguson has more.
Attorney General Senator the Honorable Alison Maynard Gibson maintains that the government has always acted in the best interests of Bahamians. There are those who are of the view that had the government refrained from getting involved in the Baha Mar issues and allowed the company to proceed with its Chapter 11 filing for bankruptcy, the more than 2,000 workers would have not been disengaged last week and would have still had their jobs.
I don't want to talk about the matter that is before the court. All that I will say, and I will repeat what I said previously, and that I would urge persons not to play politics with people's lives, and especially the hopes and dreams of aspirations of our young people. I want to reiterate that the Prime Minister is leading the charge in this matter, and the government is working expeditiously, assiduously, and very, very hard on getting this project remobilized, open, and successfully operated so that these hopes and dreams and aspirations can come to fruition.
Now, when the provisional liquidators were appointed, one of their powers granted by the courts were to hire and fire employees. At the time, Prime Minister Perry Christie had also stated that he would step away from negotiations and allow the provisional liquidators to carry out their work.
The people of the Bahamas expect our Prime Minister, even with the liquidators carrying out their responsibility, which is directly to the court, to be able to give answers to them, and that is what our Prime Minister is doing.
Now, parties involved in the Baha Mar dispute were expected to return to court on November 4th. That date, however, has been pushed back until the 24th. Maynard Gibson said the government remains optimistic that the resort will open. However, no date or timeline for that opening has been stated.
Every reason to reaffirm all that the Prime Minister said, and that there is the commitment that this project should be finished, successfully so, and we are working very hard on bringing that to fruition with all of the relevant partners.
Janae Noel Ferguson, ZNS Network News.
A noted attorney convicted by the Court of Appeal for contempt today.
Fern Carey tells us that the court president spared no words as she passed sentence on this top attorney.
The panel of Court of Appeal President Justice Anita Allen, Justice Neville Adderley, and Justice Abdoulaye Conte convicted Maurice Clinton QC of 2 counts of contempt Monday.
And during today's proceedings, the court gave its ruling on the matter.
They then ordered him to pay a fine of $15,000 for his contempt back on September 28th and gave him 14 days to pay it. If he doesn't, Clinton will have to spend 14 days at the Department of Corrections. Justice Allen noted that Clinton's conduct on September 28th was totally unacceptable as he insulted both in tone and content, individually and collectively, the judges of the court. She noted that he also turned his back on the court and walked out of the courtroom while being addressed by the panel. He also defied the court's reasonable request and abandoned his clients without notice to them and the court's leave. She indicated that Clinton's conduct was an affront to the bench, to all parties involved, and to the proper administration of justice. The Court of Appeal president also noted that the case in which the contempt proceedings arose has been pending for 11 years, and Clinton's conduct resulted in a calculated interference with the administration of justice. And for his contempt back on October 9th, the panel sentenced Clinton to 4 days' time served that was spent in custody at the Cable Beach police station. Justice Allen noted that she nor any other member of the panel could recall a darker day in the administration of justice, and she expressed regret that a senior attorney like Clinton would put the court in such a position. Regarding Clinton's statement of regret, in which he admitted to his behavior but did not accept that it was contemptuous, Justice Allen said the court did not consider it an apology, and she said it was regrettable that he chose not to apologize. She noted that by the punishment imposed on Clinton, the panel sought to protect the authority and dignity of the court and ensure that the administration of justice shall not be obstructed or interfered with by such conduct. As anticipated, Clinton's attorney Wayne Munro has indicated that he will appeal.
We look forward to receiving the detailed reasons getting access to the transcripts to consider a appeal onward to the Privy Council.
Fern Carey, ZNS Network News.
Also from the courts, 2 criminal defenders were charged in the Magistrates Court today on a number of offenses that are connected to witness tampering. The pair appeared before Chief Magistrate Joanne Ferguson Pratt. 59-year-old Michael Kemp of West Street and 34-year-old Tia Pinder of Highland Terrace are accused of obstruction of justice and conspiracy to commit obstruction of justice. It's alleged that on August 22nd, the two obstructed justice by intimidating Davon Bethel, who was to give evidence in a criminal trial. The 2 lawyers pleaded not guilty and were granted bail in the sum of $7,000. They are expected back in court on November 23rd. Kemp had some comments today. He questioned how black lace got into his pocket while at the Central Detective Unit, while noting that he had a brother who died in custody who he feels did not intend to hang himself. Kemp also made some allegations about Attorney Pinder claiming she was called names while in police custody. However, he refused to name the person, saying he needed protection. The Chief Magistrate said she found Kemp's assertions disturbing. Kemp also asked the court to ensure that police witnesses do not interfere in the matter. Meantime, Pinder and 77-year-old Rosalie Lightfoot also face additional charges, 2 counts of obstruction of justice and abetment to obstruct justice. Those charges were said to have occurred on June 20th, where it's alleged Pinder obstructed Rashad Rogers and Marvin Bain by intimidating them to abstain from giving evidence. Charges both women deny. Charles Larimore was also charged with aggravated assault and obstruction of justice, where it's alleged that on October 26th, he assaulted a police officer and obstructed him in the execution of his duties. Larimore denied the charges.
Well, logs from the Department of Meteorology shows unequivocally that the department's Doppler radar system was fully functional during Hurricane Joaquin, despite the claims stating otherwise. Cleopatra Murphy spoke with one of the technicians, Pedro Miller, and other officials on the matter. Miller says it tells clearly the status of the piece of equipment.
Officials at the Department of Meteorology released Doppler radar verification logs on Sunday, confirming that the radar was in fact operational leading up to and all through Hurricane Joaquin. According to the log, the radar had been up consistently for 93 days, 20 hours, and 51 minutes until it was accessed on October 21st. Technician Pedro Miller is adamant that the log speaks for itself.
The information displays what is likened to a heartbeat. Each complete day of the radar speaking to itself, gathering data, it would say and log, listen to me, I had a good day today, and close that day, and it would begin that process again for the following day. The second one is basically a internal component of the server that when asked, how long have you been up and operating successfully without any reboots?
Controversy has followed the Department of Meteorology since reports in a local daily based on claims by several forecasters that the radar was unoperational at some point during Joaquin. Forecaster Wayne Neely has gone on the record saying he stands by the claim. However, Miller says his observation shows otherwise, adding he never received a call from any forecaster that the system was down.
During the 1st and 2nd of October, during the passage of Joaquin, I actually personally worked 2 shifts from approximately 7 to 8 a.m. in the morning till about 10 a.m. on both of those days, precisely p.m. to monitor and make sure that all of our communications and IT systems remain functional during the passage of Joaquin. And I know for sure, specifically during those times, there were no issues major to speak about.
Defending against claims that the system was not functioning, officials from the department last week said the console may have gone down and all that was required was a simple reboot. Department Director Trevor Baston says senior meteorologists were on hand before and after those entries calling the radar non-operational, and those concerns were never voiced.
There was no log, no call from either of the two to indicate that the radar was down at that time, even though they're saying it was. Where is the proof? Nothing in the logs whatsoever.
On that shift, Mr. Neely said that the radar, he wrote in the logbook, the radar was not working. Never informed Mr. Nixon, the senior meteorologist, never informed myself, who came into the office at 4:30 that morning. All those checklists are available, okay? But those checklists never made it out to the press.
Cleopatra Murphy, ZNS Network News.
This portion of the news was brought to you by McDonald's. McDonald's, I'm loving it.
This is your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain. The owner of a Caribbean flying adventure company says the United States Federal Aviation Administration should exempt U.S. general aviation operators from international overflight fees, noting that the charges were never intended to cover those flights and are disproportionately burdensome. Jim Parker urged operators to voice their opposition while commenting to an FAA proposal that would increase the fees over the next 3 years. Parker said the FAA will increase the fees again and in a few months, and before long, every little trip operators make between the islands in the Bahamas or between the Bahamas and the Dominican Republic will be billed for FAA ATC services, the same as a jumbo jet. In other business news, the niche market of religious tourism continues to grow on the island of Bimini after a conference attracted scores of American religious leaders. Senior pastor of Universal Household of Faith and Universal Fellowship Alliance, Bishop Ricardo Grant, assembled 22 churches on the island of Bimini last week. Some of the churches came from Atlanta, Georgia, Washington, D.C., Orlando, and Tampa, Florida, the Cayman Islands, Nassau, and Grand Bahama. The conference hosted about 100 delegates, and Bishop Grant says the Bahamas was an easy sell. And in international business news, with online shopping growing, FedEx is bracing for record volumes this holiday season. The Associated Press is reporting that delivery companies said today that shipments from Black Friday through Christmas Eve will rise 12.4% over last year to 317 million pieces. The company said to handle the crush, it's hiring more than 55,000 seasonal workers and investing in automation and expansion. That was your Royal Fidelity Business News. I'm Jimenita Swain.
Last evening, we told you that one of the country's heroes passed away. Reverend Dr. Hervis Bain, the designer of the National Coat of Arms and the Bahamian flag, died after a short illness. As we remember him tonight, we take a look at his last interview on ZNS during the Independence celebrations. There, he talked about the role he played in designing the flag and its original colors.
In my design, I use a green. I didn't bother using aquamarine. But they used an aquamarine because somebody had an emotional feeling about the flag. And I told them it don't work that way. Well, I was just a little fella.
So what was the color of the flag supposed to be?
Green, the aquamarine supposed to just be a green. I saw the green as being the fertility, of the land. The yellow is always with us. What that represents? It represents, the sunshine, the brightness, the wealth of the above the water. As you look at the coloring cannot exist alone by itself. It needs a base. It needs something to rest on. That's what that black was.
May you rest in peace on behalf of the Broadcasting Corporation.
He was very instrumental. I talked to him several times on how he designed the flag and his history of the black, how he wanted it to be a pinnacle and driving in and driving us forward as a people.
Yeah.
It was always very interesting listening to him.
Well, the Family Island Connection, brought to you by BTC, is up next.
You're watching the Bahamas Tonight, the National Report.
And it's time now for your BTC Island Connection, and for that, here's Keisha Adderley.
She's been walking these beaches for a long time. It's a time to pray and reflect alongside her beachfront business. Though she runs the Sunset Beach Resort, it's her Christian duty which also helps to keep her busy.
We want to give you this as a token of our love. From the Women in Ministry
Your
Prayer
lover, we love you.
The Women in Ministry Prayer Group has been part of the Cricket Island community since the year 2000. It's a vehicle for sharing with the community, especially the elderly who need help. This food basket recipient, though appreciative of the donation, seemed more curious about the cameras in her dining area.
How you doing?
Fine, and you, so what are you doing?
I'm taking some pictures of everything, if you don't mind.
Put you on TV so the Bahamas could meet you.
To meet me?
Yes.
Then bring in money?
BTC has, as the women in ministry continue to spread the love.
I think it was early last year, we were so elated that we got a donation from BTC. That was the first ever very good donation, and that has been very helpful to us when we want to reach out to help people in need. We have people who come who have medical concerns, unexpected things happen and people need a helping hand. Death in the family, a lot of things that are unexpected, hardships that come upon people, and we reach out to help.
The gift of speech, God, we give you praise and we thank you. Over 1,000 tongues to thank you this morning, Father. We bless your name forever. We ask you, Father, please continue to...
This retired teacher has no plans of slowing down. She says as long as there's breath in her body and there are sponsors like BTC, the physical and spiritual food is on her. Keishla Adderley for the BTC Island Connection.
A beautiful story.
Definitely.
I love it. Time now for a check on weather.
We head over to our own guardian of the weather, Basil Dean. Basil.
Well, thank you, Christopher and Charisma. In our second look at the weather, we take a look at temperatures around the Family Islands. Up in Freeport, Green Turkey, it is 80 degrees. Bimini, 81. Cooler still in the Berry Islands at 79. 79 also in Marsh Harbor, Abaco. Harbor Island, Eleuthera, 78. Also here in the capital, reporting 78 degrees. Fresh Creek, Central Andrews, 79. Kemps Bay at 80. 81 in Stanley Key, that's in the Exuma chain. Roxanne, Eleuthera, 80. 81 in Artisan, Cat Island. San Salvador, Rum Key, Exuma Mainland, and Long Island, all at 82. 84 degrees in Ragged Island. Acklands, Crooked Island, 83. Megawana, 84. Matthew Town, Inagua, 85 degrees. Also our neighbors to the southeast of Texas, Caicos Islands, reporting 85 degrees. Boating forecast tonight brought to you by Builders Mall, home of FYP, the Tile King, and the Paint Setter for all areas. Winds will be southeast 12 to 18 knots. Your wave heights 3 to 6 feet with a moderate chop in place. High tide took place at 7:32 this evening, just a few minutes ago. And then tomorrow for all areas, winds out of the southeast coming down a tad, 10 to 15 knots. We also will be reducing those wave heights 2 to 4 feet. High tide 8:02 in the morning, low tide at 2:26 in the afternoon. And on Wednesday for all areas, southeast winds once again 10 to 15 knots, wave heights 2 to 4 feet. High tide 8:53 in the morning, low tide 3:18 in the afternoon. And that's going to do it for your boating forecast. It is time now for your travel forecast. And your travel forecast is brought to you by Royal Star Assurance. Going to do it for your travel forecast, brought to you by Royal Star Assurance. But stay tuned, your 5-day forecast is still ahead.
This is ZNS Total Sports, brought to you by Fourth Terrace Diagnostic Center.
Welcome to sports, everybody. The New Providence Softball Association's Best of 5 championships expected to come to an end tonight at the Blue Hill Sporting Complex. The Johnson Truckers and the Stingers playing a winner-take-all Game 5 to decide who will represent the capital in the ladies division at the Bahamas Softball Federation's Round Robin Nationals. And the Truckers explained what made the difference on Saturday night when they were able to tie the series at 2 games apiece.
The difference was we came out here, we saw the trophies out. That was encouraging for us because we said, you know what, they got to put those back because we coming back for them next week. Our team has all the ingredients to win. As long as we play together and we continue to fight, we can win this.
As for the men, the Commando Security Truckers will represent New Providence at the round robin. They took their series with the BTC Elite Warriors 3-1 thanks to a win in Game 4 on Saturday.
Going into the second game, it was a little shaky for us, but we managed to bounce back and came in with the victory. Very proud of my team. I'm glad they stayed true it with me, and I stayed true it with them, and we just stay strong together.
Now the round robin will get underway on Thursday here in New Providence, and the Bulldogs from Abaco are coming back to defend their title in the men's division.
They could expect, I guess, even better than what they've expected the last 2 years. The team looks sharper. Everybody's in championship form and ready to go. We're on a roll. The last loss actually was last year to the round robin. So far this year, we've been fortunate enough to stay injury-free, and everybody's more experienced. We know our two big competitors are going to be Luther and New Providence. But like I've told the boys already, long as they play their game, nobody can beat us.
Preseason high school basketball action is in full swing. Our Julian Gibson was in the big yard over the weekend, and he filed this report.
Benson, the action was very competitive in the Danny Pratt South Andrews High School Basketball Classic. Let's take a look at some of the games. Junior boys action. Princeville Junior boys got past D.W. Davis 21-14.
Our coach said to come out and execute. We just come out and execute because we needed that game to go home with. Our defense was wonderful. We execute properly. Our coach tells us what to do, and we just listen to him and we just follow his instructions.
Now in senior boys action, in the battle for Andrews, it was Mangrove Key Senior Boys all over North Andrews Senior Boys 22-14.
We played hard today and we deserve to win.
Senior boys action, Mount Carmel, boy, they struggled in the tournament. They lost to Mangrove Key Senior Boys 19-13. Coach Curry, what's wrong?
Right down the line, my starting point guard, he went out, he had a bad bridge. So he went out and basically we tried to went to a stop and we missed the final shot, so that's basically what happened. We have probably 1 or 2 seniors that will be leaving next year, but the core of the team is basically 10 and 11 graders. So basically, we're inside the building stage at Mount Carmel, but we're going to be okay. It's early in the season right now to be celebrating any victory. It's just now to see how the X and O's them are working. But basically, we're just trying to just execute what you've been working on throughout the off-season.
A successful staging of the Danny Pratt High School Basketball Tournament. Reporting for ZNS Total Sports, I'm Julian Gibson.
The basketball world suffered a huge loss yesterday. Minnesota Timberwolves coach and president Flip Saunders passed away at the age of 60. He was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma earlier in the year and had to take a leave of absence from the team. Saunders tallied more than 1,000 victories over a 35-year coaching career, which included successful stops with the Timberwolves and Detroit Pistons. He was also a successful college basketball player at the University of Minnesota, playing alongside our very own Michael Sweet Bells Thompson.
Flip meant so much to me and to anybody who knew him before he became more famous and well known because of his work in the NBA. We knew him when he was just a sophomore at the University of Minnesota, little point guard out of Cleveland, Ohio. And he was the same guy up until his last days as he was when I met him at Minnesota. Humble, very caring about everybody, nice guy, easy to talk to, and a leader. He was our leader at the University of Minnesota. April 10th, 2015, we were in Staples Center. We were standing on the sideline talking about the good old days at the University of Minnesota, and we were looking forward. He was looking forward so much the 2015-16 season, knowing that he was going to have a high draft pick to either have a chance to coach Okafor or Anthony Towns, the young talent they already had at Minnesota. And he knew that that franchise would head in the right direction. And he was a great representative and ambassador to this country, and he's going to be sorely missed.
The Public Service Volleyball Tournament was held this past Friday and Saturday at the Kendall Isaacs Gym. And while our Julian Gibson couldn't be in attendance, he still made it a point to keep up with what was going on.
The big team, ZNS, taking on BTC in the championship game. Haters in the house. Jason Saunders, you say you had something to say? Come on, guys, stop crying. You're on TV. This is precious TV time. Talk.
I see you're not playing the clowns as ZNS. I have no more to say. But I know it's going to be edited, and you're going to do with it what you want to do with it, but it's all well and good. I'll go on Facebook, Twitter, all those other things to get my message across.
And I do not know why in the world he was looking for yours truly. I left a crew in place to handle things. What you looking for me for, Jason?
Julian's my very good friend. We've played sports for a very long time together. He didn't show up. Did not show up. Now, I appreciate the fact that Kelsey did. And Kelsey's doing a wonderful job. But nevertheless, Julian should have been
There's a reason why his interview is happening while the championship game is playing. That's because they're not in it.
Coach Burrows filling in for Charles Fisher and yours truly. Well, he looks like a real coach. Boy, Zedness surely going to use some additional help. General Manager Miss Swan, why are you sitting down? You can help. Come on the court. Now, Dawn, I believe you can play too. Hiram, stay away, you and the distracting Kelsey. Look at those numbers. Football numbers. Offensive linemen. Big numbers. Boy, Zedness would come up big in the tournament only to lose to BTC. But guess what, BTC? That was our B team. Our A team, we are just sitting right there, waiting for a golden opportunity for all the marbles. We will beat you when it really counts. Reporting for ZNS Total Sports, I am Julian Gibson.
So there you have it, the Big Z coming up a bit short, but congratulations goes out to BTC. And for your efforts, here's your 30 seconds of fame.
It feels great, especially basically from, I know personally from our side, you know, we basically had no practices because of our working conditions, but we basically came out here, played as much as we can, as best as we can, and we got the victory, you know. Kudos to all of the players. We had players who came in right after from work, came in, Brian especially, he came in right after work, and he was able to give us the winning point. So we're really thankful for all the players, and we're also thankful, you know, for our VPs for giving us the time off, and most of all, we thank God for giving us the health and strength to be able to be here.
So here's the proof. ZNS, the runners of this year, a bit disappointed not to win the championship. At least it gives us something to strive for next year. And I understand there's another challenge coming up with the ZNS, another corporation. You're going to want to stay tuned for more on that. And that will do it for sports. Stay tuned. The Bahamas Tonight comes back after the break.